So welcome back to the I Am Passionate podcast. I hope you all are doing well. I've got two of my most reoccurring guests on the channel. How y'all doing?
Good.
Good.
Ready to
Doing
talk about
good.
some football.
Glad to be back.
Yeah. So we're gonna talk about some football. The biggest question: who will the Chiefs play in the Super Bowl? Will we be getting another Taylor Swift Bowl, or will Haley Steinfeld ruin it? I'm kidding. I'm kidding. That's not the title of the episode. But before really we kind of talk about last week's games. I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on the few head coaches for new teams that we know about, which Kevin and Dave in our other group chat, we were talking about the Raiders hiring Pete Carroll. If you had to grade how good of a hire you think it is, like using like the school system, what would you grade it? I give it a B plus. I think he's a good coach. I think he'll do like change some things, but he's in a tough division. You got the Chiefs still. The Broncos and Chargers had a great season. The Raiders were the team that, did bad. So I think they'll be one of those that like they might not have the best record, but they'll be competitive. They're like you'll notice that things are trending in the right direction.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this a C, honestly, and I'm honestly teaming on a C minus. He is a coach, got experience. Obviously been two Super Bowls with the Seahawks. But the thing that gets me is like, why hire a coach this old? Um, when you're looking to start over, and be, fresh and young. You're looking for a quarterback. A lot of people want them to draft Shador. Um, How long is Pete Carroll going to stay for that development? He's what, 72, 73 years old?
Yeah, I saw something that basically by the time next season starts, he will have basically break the record for being the oldest head coach. 2 years before the Texans got D'Amico Ryans, they had Romeo Crennel for a season, and he was like 73, like 100 and something days old. Pete Carroll will break that because he'll be 74
Yeah.
later this year.
Like, this is one of those things is like, I like it. I would like it if it was a win now type of environment. Like kind of let's say like the Jets kind of had that, like win now. If the Jets would have hired him or something like brought him in
Hmm.
and it's like, okay, like this guy's gonna be here for, our 2 to 3 year window that we want to win the Super Bowl, that's cool. But you're looking to draft a new quarterback and start over. How long is he gonna be there? He's not a long term coach. You're just gonna reset the clock again in a couple 3 years where you have to find a new head coach and then find a new, staff. It's just like, well, why do are you not committed to long term success? I don't get it.
Yeah, I actually had that in mind. I think that the age piece is obviously a huge factor. How can it not be? At this point, being gonna be the oldest coach ever. I think for me, I'm gonna give it a B minus, and I say a B minus because I kind of in the tier between both of you, where I see the age piece, but I also think that this is a good opportunity for Pete Carroll to come into a system and instill culture, good, valuable culture into a system. And this is why I was high on him going to the presidential role, the player development role, and everything like that with the Seahawks. I think now he has an opportunity to go into a place that has had a historical lack of culture and actually build in some type of foundation, some type of system. I don't think that this is necessarily a long-term thing, of course. I think just because of that age piece, but I do see him being able to and I give the B minus because I'm not really sure if coach was the correct role. I always say like I think Pete Carroll with where he's at, presidential player development type of role is really where he can kind of oversee and start to put in and implement some of that culture. But I do think that Pete Carroll, obviously awarded coach, national champ, right? One of the only coaches to win both in the NFL and in the NCAA, I believe,
Yeah, I'm familiar with what
is.
you're talking about. You're right.
Yeah. So obviously clearly capable of doing the job. I think that he makes a great coach anywhere he goes. I just think that a win now place would have been a little bit better for him, but I can also see the culture and instilling the culture and everything like that as well. I think is also a huge piece that can't be overlooked.
I get you. I get you. And like the other thing I'll point out before going on to the next coaches, I just think like you guys were saying that like if he had went to a win now situation, it'd be a little bit better. I think the Raiders have just so many holes that it would be difficult for them to fulfill, say, in one off season, so that this like it might be one of those. The first year for Sean Payton in Denver is rough. Second year, not so bad, but didn't reach the promised land, at least the playoffs. And then this year, they, took a huge step up. I could see something very similar happening. But for the next one, we have the Bears, Ben Johnson. Kevin's been practicing saying the Bears got Ben Johnson for weeks. Kev, I'll let you go first. What would you grade this?
I'm gonna give it an A-. Even though it does certainly feel like a home run for a lot of people who are Bears fans, and just even some people on the outside looking in, that's been the struggle since I can remember with the Bears. Like literally, some of my earliest Bears memories, just literally watching the defense play perfect. The offense has no scoring to support them, so it doesn't work out. So now it feels like okay, we finally got an offensive coach who can turn the team around and get us back to scoring or scoring really for the first time in my lifetime. But um, only thing that's missing from this hire and why it's not an A+ for me, like a lot of people, is that the experience wasn't there. If there was somebody who was like experienced, a well-established coach, then I would give it the A+. But the thing is like you don't know how Ben Johnson's gonna be. You can be a nice offensive coordinator. You come in and then you can't leave the locker room. Once you don't have a locker room, nothing else goes. The biggest thing for Ben Johnson is literally is going to be convincing his players and getting them to buy in. You already know the offensive mastermind is there. It's just really, can you lead a team? Can you get them to trust you? Can they believe in you?
Cam, what you think?
I'm right there with you, although I think it impacts it even more. I do. I'm gonna give it a B. And I think that experience piece is really what drives it for me. Um, and on top of the experience piece, from Illinois, it's just cursed. It's just cursed. What? I don't want to put that on us because you know what the word is? I shouldn't say that. Cautiously optimistic is how I should phrase it because at the end of the day, like you had just said, Kev, there's not really any experience there in the experience piece. Are you going to be able to lead are you going to be able to cultivate an environment where people are actually going to be motivated to go out there and play? And then when things do hit the fan, because they are going to hit the fan, things are going to get tough. There's not a season
Whoa,
that
whoa,
doesn't
whoa,
for
whoa,
any
whoa,
locker
whoa,
room.
whoa.
For any locker, I just mean for any locker room. For any locker room, there are
Yeah, I'm
hard
just
points in
messing.
the season. There are hard points in the season where things must be addressed. And I think during one of his interviews, they had somebody had asked him about the DJ Moore. I don't know if you guys saw that interview where they asked him about DJ Moore and how he walked off the field in the game on that I think it was a fourth down. I don't want to misspeak, but he
Are
had
you
It
talking
walked.
about
was
that Cardinals game where the play was mid like happening and Caleb was still scrambling and
it
basically
was
DJ Moore took himself out of the play?
Yeah, just
yeah,
took him out of the
DJ.
play.
He
Yeah,
just walked off the
he just
field.
walked off the field, and he was posed that question, and he was like, that's in the past. Everybody has a clean. I thought he answered it greatly. I think he answered it amazingly. Everybody has a clean slate going in. This is a whole new clean slate. All that stuff in the past has been wiped away. And he was like, that's in the past. What happens in the past, and every situation is different. I think he answered it really well. And he even said, but of course, we don't want that kind of behavior. That's unprofessional. That's just disrespectful to the game. All those types of things. So I think he answered it perfectly. I think that it's not up to me though. That's what I say. Like I hear him, I believe him. I do all these things that he's saying. I think he's answering it perfectly. I think this is a great time that Chicago finally gets the guy that they want, the person that they want. Like I think triumphantly, this is a great moment for the Chicago community. I'm just cautiously optimistic with the experience piece. Are the guys in the locker room actually going to be able to get behind it? When things hit the fan, are you going to be able to handle it well as a system? All of your staff has to be in place. It's just a lot to cultivate all in one season. I think the expectations are super high right now. And I think we need to lower the expectations a little bit, even still. I mean, he even said in one of his press conferences, the season's not going to be based on the win-loss columns. It's not. They have to instill culture there. There's so much work to be done, I feel like, in that locker room and in the system and in that. I give it a B, a solid B.
I get that. something that I want to say, because I get what both of you are saying about the experience. I feel like in recent years, we've seen people step into head coaching roles. Some have had success from, their entire tenure as a coach, while others, they might have more so short-term success. Of course, not just with the Bears, all these other teams who are getting head coaches, they're hoping for long-term success. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, Sean McVay didn't have head coaching experience. He had, other coaching jobs, and he's one of the best coaches in the league. Matt LaFleur, same. That man will have a crazy game plan. Uh, Kevin O'Connell for the Vikings, which, he had other coaching experiences. This is his first head D'Amico Ryans, which he was, as far as I know, other than being a player, he was the 49ers defensive coordinator for a couple of years. Now he's in Texas. You can say all you want that that's a weak division, but at the end of the day, you still got to go out there and win your division. So I think I give it an A personally. I'm not going to sugarcoat it because, like you guys said, like there's a lot of high expectations out there, and I think the Bears need to keep them realistic. And so I think from a offensive perspective, I think the Bears will do some great things. I'm hoping that, in the offseason, they get some free agent linemen, they draft some linemen, and they fill a couple of other holes on the team. But I think as long as, like Ben Johnson does his job to the best of his capability, the other coaches on the staff, the other members on the team, they'll be bought in because it's like, hey, Coach Johnson is, giving his best. He's busting his ass, pause, um, for, like just to put us in position to succeed. That's why I give it an A. Now I get it. Me saying that, he's trying his best is hypothetical because, next season hasn't started yet. But all we got to do is really wait and see, really. My last one for the meantime is the Jets with Aaron Glenn. I give it a B only because I'm curious about the quarterback situation because Aaron Glenn has said he's open for Aaron Rodgers to coming back, while others are kind of like Aaron Rodgers, don't let the door hit you on the way out. Now, regardless of if it's Aaron Rodgers or if they get somebody in the draft, that's what I feel because the last couple of years the Jets have had a roster to compete. It's just the New York curse. I can't think of a better word than say curse. So I think the quarterback is a big enough question for me to, which I think he'll be a great coach. That defense will ball out like it did the first few years of Robert Saleh. That I think will be fine. The question is the offense.
I it's hard for me to say because in order to believe in this hiring, you have to believe in the upper management as well in the front office.
In their front
And I
office.
don't believe in the Jets front office. So
His Madden overall wasn't high enough.
I do. It has nothing to do with, I think you're right. I think he's going to have a great defense. I think he's going to have a great defense, but I think that there are more than just on the field issues with and coaching issues with the Jets. So I think that he'll have the defense on par to being the best possibly in the league, just based off of the roster and what's on paper as of this moment. But going forward in the long term sense, I don't know if I'm too confident in I because I still don't believe that Robert Salem should have been fired
I don't either.
under that pretense. So it's like he's a defensive coordinator. He's the same exact hire as what Robert Salem potentially would have been. I'm not saying they're the same people. Obviously, they're completely different people. But in that sense, you're going to have a good defense. Offense is going to be questionable.
Yeah,
What has really changed in that role in that sense? So I still haven't seen it. I haven't really seen anything come out as far as what he's going to have control over, what calls he's going to what if he's going to have control over the roster or anything like that. Like we don't know. So it's kind of questionable for me still at this point.
yeah. I'm a little confused by this one. I want to give it like a C plus B minus. I want to put it in that tier. The problem that they had with the Jets years ago was Zach Wilson, and the offense just overall struggling. Then you get Aaron Rodgers, and then the same problem persists. Now, the defense did have their fall off. They didn't. They weren't lights out anymore. But the problem was still there. You tried to get Aaron Rodgers to come in. Okay, the first year he tore his Achilles. Okay, freak accident. The things happen. Second year, you bring him back, it still doesn't work. Okay, what can we do? We can bring in Devontae Adams. Okay, it still doesn't work. Like I thought going into this, you know, coaching cycle, in carousel and everything like that, I thought they would have been front runners for somebody like Ben Johnson or Mike McCarthy, somebody who has offense experience. Because at this point you're in the front office for the Jets. If it's going to be anything, you're going to be like, okay. We can at least fix the offense. We haven't had an offense that was probably decent since like what Mark Sanchez. Like if we're keeping it honest, like
I couldn't
I
even
would,
tell you what the stats were like for them. So we can
yeah,
honestly just say our entire lives for the most part.
yeah. I mean, Mark Sanchez was decent for a minute, but it just feels like this is like an issue that they had, for a while, where it's just like offense just isn't good. I thought they would have went for offensive coach. Now, I'm not saying that you can't win with a defensive coach. I mean, obviously you can if they hire a good offensive coordinator, things like that. But it just feels weird. Also knowing that you have Aaron Rodgers on the way out. I thought you would have tried to pair. If you're gonna give it one more try, I thought you would have paired it with a really good offensive, coach to maybe give this thing a chance at working. Because if you're not, you're gonna hire a defense coach, you might as well just kick Aaron Rodgers out. I
Might
don't
I
know why
Yeah, might I add too that I don't know what the relationship is between them, but I thought Mike McCarthy would have been a good hire for the Jets. I'm not gonna lie because Mike McCarthy is known to have and gain and garner respect in the locker room. I think that he's great at instilling culture in a locker room. I truly do. I think everywhere he's gone, he's had success in that manner. All the guys and the players do get behind him. It's been reported in locker rooms that that is the case. People love playing for Mike McCarthy. I don't know what Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy's relationship is, but that kind of seemed to fit, especially if Aaron Rodgers was on the way out. That's why I was like, I'm not really sure because it seems same old with hiring a defensive minded coach.
yeah, and that's one thing Aaron Rodgers loves. Somebody he's familiar with. This man would try to go back to Randall Cobb if it's 2050. He does not care. He's going to try to get somebody that he knows that he can trust, so, somebody he won a Super Bowl with. So it's just like,
Yeah,
Driver,
why
where are
didn't
you?
this happen?
yeah, yeah. I have no idea what that relation because I think the relationship had pretty much expired by the time McCarthy parted ways with Green Bay, if I'm correct, right? Or with it, when am I making that
It's,
up in my head?
I'm not 100% sure.
um, wait, what are you talking
I
about?
think that wasn't Aaron Rodgers. I don't want to say this, but wasn't he
You're saying weren't
like
the two like
kind of
frustrated
edging
with one
on,
another?
yeah, for Mike McCarthy to be removed as head coach? He was kind of tired of him at that point, toward the end there.
Um,
I'm not sure.
I think it was more of a just yeah, that's the thing. I don't know if the situation is like Aaron is like, look, I'm tired of losing with this guy. Like, yeah, the offense, like we literally lose because of defense every year in the playoffs. We need him out. Like, we need somebody who can actually come and build a defense. Because he's Aaron Rodgers looking over and he sees Tom Brady every year, top 10 defense, protecting him. And he's like, I need that so I can go win some more Super Bowls. But it's like, you're not getting that. Like, you're just not. Like, no coach has ever, like, just besides Bill Belichick and Brady, going to have a top five offense and defense almost like year in, year out. It's just not going to happen. But I thought Aaron would have tried to give it one more. He tried with all these other coaches, Like, I thought he would have been, you know what? Maybe I was wrong about you. Like, let's try it again.
Carroll.
But I don't know. Maybe McCarthy, he felt betrayed or whatever. But
Yeah. Fair
I
enough.
thought that was going to be their move.
Oh, Kev, go ahead, finish.
No, I was done.
Oh, my bad. Um, I overall though I agree with what both of you were saying, and with all three, all we got to do really is just wait and see because there's questions that got to be answered, and kind of just to talk about some of the divisional round games. I don't have too much to say about the Texans and Chiefs. Really, there's the questionable calls. There's the freaking Patrick Mahomes flop. There is that one roughing the passer from Will Anderson, which I thought was some bull. And then I looked away when this happened, but I saw the replay of it. where Mahomes is scrambling trying to buy time and two Texans converge. So they more so hit each other and not him, and that was flagged. So yeah, there were some questionable calls, but overall in that game, the Chiefs offense, I mean, it's been like this last about year, maybe two. The Chiefs offense hasn't really looked particularly amazing, but they're just so good. They're the best team at managing a game. So it's like they don't have to, Mahomes doesn't have to throw for 7 touchdowns and 500 yards to win. He can throw for 250 and like maybe one touchdown and then they'll win a game.
I'd like to go first real quick because I just have a question. I have a question, and it's about Pat Mahomes. It's about Pat Mahomes, this offense. Is Patrick Mahomes' cape starting to be taken off a little bit? Is he not really as Superman as we think he is? And I'm just posing a question. I'm not saying he is or he isn't, but when you had Tyreek Hill and you had Case and you had a young, healthy Travis Kelce, which don't get me wrong, both best in their position, he was looking unstoppable. Now he still looks unstoppable, but this offense is like it can't move the ball. Like this offense does not move the ball consistently whatsoever. The
Yeah, we'll
past
let you
two,
answer that.
almost 3.5 years, almost 3 years at this point. I mean, the first year Hill left and and they won the Super Bowl. Offense looked fine. It looked not nearly as great, but it looked okay. The last 2 years for sure, it's been rough.
But it's funny that you say that because the debate online has been like the Patriots era, with Tom Brady, and then this era, and people are saying like, the one thing that with the whole like the refs help you guys cheated or whatever, the narrative with that, at least with the Patriots, like, look, Tom Brady and the Patriots at least made it look somewhat believable, and it was respected. Tom Brady throwing crazy, touchdown passes to Gronk, or Julian Edelman making, crazy plays. Like it felt like even though there was questionable calls and it's like that in every like I get it, it's it happens a lot for the Patriots, but it's you watch any NFL game, it's going to be some questionable, crazy call that like probably ruins the game. But at least it felt like I would say realistic. This Chiefs game and like these last two seasons, I'm like, well, this season and last season, I was talking to my grandpa. I'm like, dude, like I'm losing respect for Patrick Mahomes. I'm not gonna lie to you. That flopping that he did, he even admitted to it, by the way, in a press conference, was some of the most egregious flopping. I'm talking like Miami LeBron flopping. Like
I was
it
thinking
was
LeBron in
it
my
was
head. I
bad.
was
Like
wondering if you said it.
it was bad. Like it was literally like it was so obvious and it's shameless from somebody who knows. Like you're already known to get all the calls. Why are you throwing yourself down in between two defenders? And then the craziest part that gets me is why isn't there a way for the NFL to because they come down and they change every call like it's a fumble, they say hey, they let the ref know hey, you gotta look at that. That was actually an interception. He caught it. Why isn't there a way for the NFL to call down and say, you know what, Patrick Mahomes actually didn't get hit. Two Houston players hit each other. You know, pick up that flag and move the ball back. Why isn't there a way to do that? But I think going into this offseason, I would be highly disappointed if the defensive players don't get together and cause, some type of, issue with the owners in the league and get on Roger Goodell and say, look, we got to do something about these quarterback penalties. We can't tackle these dudes, but these dudes are now more mobile and, athletic than they've ever been. How are you supposed to tackle Jaden Daniels in the pocket where he can literally go from standing still to a running back in literally like half a second?
Very,
It's
very
like
true.
I can't go from I'm gonna tackle you delicately to now I have to chase somebody running like 20 miles per hour. You just can't do it. I don't want to rant for too long, but it's something like how is this fair to the defense in any way? You can go from a pedestrian to a running back in 1 second. Like, and then if I tackle you wrong, penalty, 15 yards.
And that just is why they have opened up the narratives that mobile quarterbacks don't work. Because they know it would be too hard to contain, not only from a schematic standpoint, but from a system standpoint too. Like there's so many penalties that you're right. They should be calling down, saying, reviewing all these penalties because they're doing it with every score, every turnover. They're doing it with. a bunch of different stuff at this point. So why not do it with things like this? I completely agree with that, and I'm for it. I feel like the instant replay, all those things are put in, and I think that they make the game better. I think they make the game more accurate. So it's like, why not continue to go that route? As far as the quarterbacks flopping and stuff, man,
It's really only I've only seen it.
it's like the James Harden effect. It's like if you know you're getting away with it, more people are going to continue to do it.
You want to know what we need? We need to get J. Jonah Jameson from Spider-Man and say, I want quarterback flags taken out of the game now.
Bro, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like the only way to get this, situated, or at least stop the flopping, they're gonna have to start hitting some quarterbacks.
Well, did
And
you guys heard what the DC for the Eagles said, or for the Commander said, right?
yeah, he said pretty much hit him.
Yeah, he said he literally said he's like, we're gonna treat Jalen Hurts like a running back this game. Like he said, any runs, we're treating him like a running back. So it'll be interesting to see that game, what kind of calls get called, because we have two mobile quarterbacks in this situation, and it's in a high stakes game where it's been an issue recently. So it's going to be interesting to see how they get called.
I get it. I get it. So really just the last thing that I've got to say about the Texans and Chiefs game is that like I saw something. Who was it? It was DeAndre Hopkins because he hasn't caught a lot of passes this postseason. I'm similar to Amari Cooper, and both are just happy to be this far into the playoffs. Which, regardless of me not wanting the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl, I'm happy for DeAndre Hopkins personally. But before going on, we're going to talk about the next game, which is the Commanders versus Lions. But I picked the Lions to win originally, but I did say that if the Commanders were going to win, they'd have to, control the clock, which they had the ball for 33 minutes and 59 seconds to the Lions 26 minutes and 1 second, which I kind of think a theme of the divisional round is that essentially there was one team that kept turning the ball over, and then the other team that didn't have a single turnover. Jared Goff had 4 interceptions, one taken back for six. I get it. One was a garbage time interception. By garbage time, I mean they're trying to claw back and then they threw a pick. But um, my question really for y'all is, do y'all think Jaden Daniels is legit?
Um, yeah, I just hope they don't switch up on my boy like they did CJ Stroud this year. If he has a slight down year because teams adjust and play him better, oh, he's trash. He fell off. But I think he's legit. I really think going into next year, he's going to be the MVP favorite. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Madden
Uh,
cover. We were talking about it the other day.
yeah. I think he's legit. He showed. Look, a lot of rookies take time, to develop and show you what their true potential is. But he showed already with a decent supporting cast and a good coach, he can get you far into the playoffs. So
And they
I,
invested in their O line. Sorry to cut you off. They
yeah,
got a lot of O line so that, he's got time to stand in the pocket.
yeah, he's already shown it. Some guys take longer than others, but it's a matter of situations. But uh, definitely legit. Definitely here to stay. No question about it.
I think he's legit too. I mean, the stats show it. I mean, fourth quarter passer rating 99.8. It's like he literally has like it's like I seen stats the other day in the fourth quarter when they're trailing, his passer rating is at 89 something. His for or no, when they're trailing, it's like a 96, but when they're leading, it's like a 89. It's like any way you look at it, no matter what time or phase of the game it is, his passer rating is just high, like he's up at the top in numbers. It's like the numbers are showing it. How do you not? The game is showing it when you look at it and you see it. The eye test is showing it. He he's a problem in this league, and he's going to be a problem for a long time. Like I love to see, and I love to see it. I love to see it too, man. So it's like, but I'm with you, Kev. Like, don't change up on him when next year it may not be the same product,
And the thing
stats wise.
about that is, sorry to cut you off, it's in a way it would be worse only because he's one game away from the Super Bowl as a rookie. CJ Stroud, the furthest he's gotten the division around. I get it. He had a
Right.
stellar rookie year. But the Jaden Daniels switch up would be insane. Not even if they just lose this game, but if they, let's just say next year they win two less games. I think they're we're 12-5 in regular season. Let's say they're 10-7 or 9-8. That switch up will be crazy.
And it's like, you know what? The Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, like just hype has just confused and brainwashed these fans and the expectations. Like 7 years in a row to the AFC Championship for Pat Mahomes. What like where do you hear this? Like these outlandish like expectations are crazy. You expect just because as a rookie he's going to get back to the NFC Championship every single year. Like that's just a unrealistic expectation. So
Yes.
of course there's going to be of course there's going to be I mean obviously there's still Super Bowl potential, but like of course it's not going to be it's
I, yeah, I think people forget it's like it's really NFL like getting the Super Bowl. It's a journey. It's not like some trip down to the corner store. It don't happen in 10 minutes. It's literally. I was talking to my grandpa because he was talking to my uncle, and it was really about Lamar Jackson. He was saying, "Oh, I guess Lamar just never gonna get it done." I'm like, "What is it like? What year 7 for Lamar or something like that?
Year 8.
Year 8?" I'm like, "Yeah." Peyton Manning didn't win it to year 9. And then it literally took him into his final game of his career to win it again. It is not easy. And he's literally ranked top 5, top 3 in some people quarterback list. So it's like it took him how long to get there, and then it took him how long to win another one because he got back there and he got embarrassed, and people thought it was over. But he came back a while later. But it's like getting to the Super Bowl, winning it. Brady and Mahomes really have insane luck to get there. You know what I'm saying? Like it is skill, but literally, like playoffs coming out to some crazy stuff, tip field goals, all kinds of stuff. I've seen a double doink. Like it's some crazy stuff happen. Getting to 7 AFC championships is like it's a little bit of luck. It ain't always skill, but it's a journey though. It's not the clock. Is way too fast for fans now.
So signing off on Jaden Daniels. Don't ever hate on my boy though. Don't ever hate on my boy. Don't switch up.
I got you. And Kevin, you started to hint at what I was gonna say about the Ravens, but before that, the only really thing I wanted to ask you both about the Rams and Eagles game is Matthew Stafford is thinking about retiring. If he does decide to retire, is he a Hall of Famer? My answer is without a doubt. I'm pretty sure he has the most 2-minute drill like fourth quarter comebacks in NFL history. I'm not 100% sure if that's the exact stat, but in a 2-minute drill situation to win the game, of course, ignoring personal preference, there's technically no quarterback better than Matthew Stafford if you look at the numbers. So, is he a Hall of Famer if he decides to retire?
I'm gonna say yeah, but this
First
feels
ballot? Let
like
me add that in there too. Sorry.
I was just about to say no. This feels like it's gonna be one of those ones where people are a little bit reluctant to vote him in. And I say that because, we look at everything through a kind of like, lens of are you a winner? And he lost a lot in Detroit. And I don't think people are just going to be like, well, he was a good player on a bad team. I don't think they're going to. I think they're going to look at his record when he retires and like, yeah, you had some, good stats, but you guys literally had horrible seasons with, the Lions. It's like it's unfortunate, but I think they're going to hold that against him. The Super Bowl definitely does help, the case. I say he'll probably be a second or third, time around he get voted in, but I don't think that first ballot is going to be fun.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's Hall of Famer in my mind. In my mind, he's a Hall of Famer. I don't have any doubt in that. Will people vote him in on the first ballot, depending on who's on the board? I could definitely see it not happening. I think it might be one of those where he gets voted in a few years down or something like that after he gains a little bit more, or after people put a little bit more respect on his name, because I think he's really deserving of it. Stats wise, it shows. Play wise, it shows. I mean, he leaves Detroit. He wins the first year. They've been a playoff team pretty much consistently since he's been in LA. I mean, there's been a few down years with health and stuff like that, but I think all in all, he should be a Hall of Famer, no doubt.
I agree. And we're going to talk about the Ravens and Bills before we talk about the next game. And also, if you two notice a difference in light, it's just because my little cool extra light had died, and that's why I had got up to turn on the light. And I'm not gonna bring it a little closer to me to brighten it up. But really, because Kevin, you talked about Lamar Jackson and Peyton Manning. Lamar Jackson's eighth season, his playoff record is 3-5. Peyton Manning's is also 3-5, and Peyton Manning won the Super Bowl his ninth season. So I think just talking about the Ravens and Bills, I don't like I think it's a mix of some of the players on the field. I think it's a mix of coaching. I've said this to my brother pretty much the last 5 years. All of the Ravens playoff losses to me has come down to coaching. In 2020, when they lost it, which that was just a crazy weather game, they did not really run the ball in that game. They didn't go in 2021. 2022 against the Bengals, Lamar Jackson was hurt. Goal line, they had Tyler Huntley, Doc QB sneak, Bengals returned it back. Following season against, KC, did not run the football. Against the Bills, which I get it in the first half, the Bills, they were playing to run well. They were. But in the second half, the Ravens started getting it cooking with Justice Hill and Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry still only had 16 carries. Justice Hill only had about five. That's a coaching issue. Now the turnovers, that's not exactly a coaching issue. Mark Andrews' fumble, which that fumble hurt more than the Lamar Jackson interception because that fumble is what made it an 8-point game. Mark Andrews fumble, but the Ravens, they just beat themselves. I can't tell you how long in saying it. And the fact that they still had the chance to go down and win, I think that's crazy. And like Mark Andrews had been getting death threats for this game. I'm like, y'all know I love the Ravens, but I think in terms of say like upsetting, losing to the Chiefs last year was way more upsetting than losing to the Bills because that Ravens defense last year just insane. The defense started playing better in the second half of the season for sure, but Josh Allen, I feel like he did just enough. Like he didn't play like Superman. Pretty much all their touchdowns were in the first half. Um, I guess my question for y'all is a lot of people are asking, should the Ravens move on from Mark Andrews? What do y'all think? My answer is hell no, by the way.
I don't think so. I definitely don't think so. I think they have one of the, frankly, one of the greatest tight end duos potentially of all time. If likely keeps going on the trajectory he's going, I think that they need to use both of them more. But he is due. I saw he is due a big salary cap hit this
Yeah,
offseason.
that's why they're talking about it. That's why people are talking about it.
So it's like, what do you do there? Will he restructure or will he take a pay cut? Those type of things. I don't know what the salary cap looks like for the Ravens if it's necessary and whatnot. Also, just side comment, the fact that Kyle Hamilton did not get All Pro, first team All Pro, or All Pro this season is ridiculous.
It's probably because of the first half of the season, the Ravens' passing defense was horrendous. If their passing defense wasn't so bad, and if he would have been able to be all over the field like he normally would be, like play corner, play linebacker, because he pretty much in the second half of the
Uh,
season,
uh,
he just simply played strong
Ro
safety.
Roquan and I'm pretty sure Marlon Humphreys did.
Roquan had a lot of tackles. Marlon Humphreys had which I do agree with you. Kyle Hamilton is an all-pro safety, but a lot of the things that makes him so good is that he can impact the game from anywhere on the defense. And it shored up the Ravens' pass defense by putting him as strong safety. But I guess in terms of say recognition, Kyle Hamilton's not going to get as much recognition because he's not blitzing from the linebacker spot, tipping passes coming off of a DB blitz. So he's still impactful, Just not as impactful as he was last year when he can play pretty much anywhere.
Give that man his respect. Give that man his respect. Going back to the original question, though, go ahead back to you, Kev.
Yeah, I was gonna say, really two things I want to talk about. Ravens shoot themselves in the foot. Um, like I don't know. I've seen teams literally just just lose games because they're better. Like other team is better, but I don't think I've seen a team where I watched them consistently in the playoffs get excited and it's literally like we're gonna play amazing football, all year, and then playoffs we're just gonna like just be super uncharacteristic, don't look like ourselves, make weird decisions, make bad like just really just mistakes. They don't like Lamar Jackson threw like what four interceptions all year.
Yeah, and to be
And,
honest,
and then,
only one of those was his fault.
yeah, and then he immediately like just threw on first half, and I'm like, dude, like what? Why is this happening now? Like, at some point, we like to slander quarterback because the conversation going into this game was whatever quarterback loses is going to get slandered for the next 12 months, is going to have a hard time fixing their reputation. At some point, we have to put the blame past the quarterbacks. Now, yes, Lamar did have two bad turnovers. I'm not going to lie, act like he didn't. But at some point, the Ravens have to go, you know what? If Lamar is a playoff choker, why don't we make the game easier for him? You know what I'm saying? The playoffs. They could literally take if they really want to, and I know Cam might be happy to hear this, they could take the Jalen Hurts approach. Literally run the ball. Make it as easy, read, throw the ball, get the ball out quick. Don't let Lamar Jackson try to play the superhero like he does all season in the playoffs. Make it super easy, run the ball, put the game on somebody else because their narrative has become Lamar's a playoff choker. He's not good in the playoffs. I don't know if that's true. I can't tell you what goes on in the meetings and the huddles or whatever. He looks good at times. Sometimes he doesn't. But the obvious thing from a coaching perspective would just be, okay, if our quarterback is struggling in the playoffs and we want to get over the hump, we have to make it somehow easier for him. And it's just like, well, let's make it harder for him. That's what it feels like. Let's just make it hard for him every year. And is why I believe they should trade Mark Andrews. I really think they need to fill these other roster spots using whatever they can get from Mark Andrews. It'd be just freeing up some money and going free agency or getting a draft pick or something. But they gotta put the shoulders on put the game on somebody else's shoulders if Lamar can't handle it. That's my take.
Do you think if
Go.
Mark Andrews agreed to restructure his contract, do you think that you would still trade him even if he agreed to it?
Yeah, I would trade him because you got Likely. If you didn't have any other like elite tight end, I would keep him. But Lily, since he's replaceable, I don't say he's replaceable, but Lily, since you have Likely, and it's like okay, you don't have the crazy tight end duo, but you could go out there, and get whatever receiver is in the draft. Whatever you need, whatever you feel like you need to get D line again and whatever, go and get it because if this is going to be the constant thing, you shoot yourselves in the foot because Lamar looks uncharacteristic. Literally, let him get carried. That's all. That's all y'all got to do now. If it's not going to be Lamar carrying on, let him. He's going to carry out through the regular season, but carry him in the playoffs.
See, the thing is, and going back on it, I mean, it was out of he's out of 4 games out of 8 games in the playoffs. He's
Had two or
had
more
at least
turnovers.
yeah, two or more turnovers, and it's like I think he sometimes he just gets so he puts so much pressure on himself. It's like it's got to be me. Like I got to win this. Like I got to show people that I win this. I got to go out here and do this. And it's like that interception. Like I don't know if it was a miscommunication, but or maybe the receiver came out the route wrong. They just had a mis or
It was. I think the receiver is one of those. It's
Bateman,
a
I think,
corner
ran a
route.
corner.
It's a corner, but I think because the safety was on top. Um, who's he throwing to? Was it Zay?
It was Bateman.
it
No,
was
Zay didn't
Bateman.
play.
Bateman
Bateman?
play. Yeah,
I think Bateman broke it out flatter because he's like, okay, I got a safety on top. I can't run the quarter, deeper or whatever.
well,
But
if that
Lamar was just like, I'm gonna throw it because you open. You beat your guy off the line. And Bateman looking like, dude, like I had a safety on top of me. I'm not going downfield. Why'd you throw that? Like
yeah, and
it
and
was a
that's
miscommunication, but like it's Lamar should have saw that safety over the
Yeah, I
top.
was gonna say Lamar shouldn't have thrown that ball then at the end of the day, and it's just like he just put so much pressure on himself sometimes, and like that fumble was I don't know, I really don't know which one was worse. I mean, obviously with the pick they didn't get any points scored off of him, but with the fumble, it's just like he makes that play 1,000 times. We seen him do it with Cincy. Literally, high snap, gets it, scrambles right, looking, throws it to Likely. Like we've seen that 1,000 times, and how many times does he actually fumble on it and lose it like that? Like,
I think
why,
what you have to factor into that though is they're playing in basically like the cold. I know it wasn't snowing, but it had snowed in Buffalo prior, so I'm gonna give him. I'm not giving him the complete benefit of the doubt because that fumble was bad, but that Cincinnati game, it was perfect conditions.
that is true, and you'd have to take that into consideration. But I mean, at the same time, it also goes into the hands of, like you said, Jen. You're not if Lamar's turning the ball over, that means you're not running the ball enough.
Yeah,
That doesn't mean you need to take Lamar out the game. But how many? What was Lamar's rushing stats in that game?
I ain't got it. I didn't take note
I
of that off the
can
top of my head,
I
but I
can
know
even
it
tell you
wasn't. They didn't run the zone read and read option like they did against Pittsburgh.
Why? 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 I don't care if they have people that can defend it. It is Lamar effing Jackson.
but the thing is they couldn't defend it. If you watch the game early this season, it was a beatdown. Like
Buffalo had a lot of
I
missing starters on defense.
It's like, why are you taking stuff out of the game?
I'm not
You are
look,
so versatile. They are the most versatile offense in the league.
I'm
They
gonna
have
be
two
honest.
duo tight ends. Why do you have four receivers on the field? Why do you have four receivers on the field?
And
Get me
it's for
Likely. It's like, why are you scheming yourself out of the game? Run some option. Like Lamar, you need. It just
it's frustrating to watch. Like
it's frustrating because I want to see him win. I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. I should hate the Ravens. I should never want to see them win. And I'm a diehard to the Blood Steelers fan. Like I'm not like I want to see him win. I want to see him win. I need the black quarterbacks to get this monkey off their back because it's just like if somebody's when they needed him to throw the ball down the stretch in the fourth quarter, 5 for 5, 6 for 6, he can do it. I know he can do it. Everybody knows he can do it. It's like, why are we scheming ourselves out the game? I think it really does come down to coaching at the end of the day. I mean, obviously, Lamar is the one making the mistakes, so you have to put it on him to some extent because he's the one making them. But it's like, why are we scheming ourselves out of these games at the end of the day?
yeah, it's this last thing I'm gonna say about this because we've been on this topic for a minute, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but it's literally like when I watch college games, and it's like a big third down. Half the time, I can predict what the play is going to be because a lot of if you watch a lot of college football, you can see the difference in like the way quarterbacks are protected. College quarterbacks get a lot of like if this isn't open, I'm sacked basically because the coach isn't going to let them on 3rd and 8 scan the whole field and throw an interception in a high leverage situation. A lot of the coaching for Lamar in the playoffs because he wants to be Superman. I don't think he's a choker. I think he really just wants to be Superman. It should be like that. Like you got to make it to where the game is literally like this play's going to work or we fail. We don't need you trying to scramble out the pocket and do like it's just at a point where it's like you gotta I wouldn't say dumb it down, but literally you gotta stick to one thing and keep it that. We don't need him running RPOs and all these options where he can make mistakes trying to be a hero. And they literally gotta just have it where it's college football again. Like the play's gonna work or we fail.
The last thing I really got to say about the Ravens and Bills game is the Ravens had run that 2-point conversion play 3 times. They ran it against the Steelers in 2021 where TJ Watt deflected. They got a hand on the ball. They ran it against the Packers, but this was Tyler Huntley that just got blew up. And then they ran it against the Bills. 2 out of the 3 times were yes, it should have worked, but it didn't. The Ravens, I don't think I've ever seen them get a 2-point conversion, at least with Lamar Jackson, which is crazy to think about. But if I see that 2-point conversion play again, then I'll rage personally. I will rage. But
How do you not just do like a read option RPO?
I
Something.
don't want to see an RPO. Just hand it off to Derrick Henry.
I
And
mean, true.
I yelled at my grandpa about that. So you went and got Derrick Henry for what? Biggest game of the season. He barely gets the ball. Biggest moment of the game, he doesn't get the ball back to back times. Then they went for two. They went for two twice that game. Derrick Henry didn't. They didn't even think about giving him the ball.
Yeah.
You know what this feels like? And I hate to say, it kind of feels like the whole Patriots Seahawks Super Bowl, where it's like you got this great running back. I get people are like, oh, 2 point conversions is like running the ball isn't a high, a high percentage play. I don't care. You have Derrick Henry, and you went and got him for what? You can barely use him in the biggest game all year.
He made that one drop, and then it's like you scarcely saw him. He did come out in the third and play well, but
We're gonna move
we can
on.
move
We're
on.
gonna
Yeah.
talk about this week's games because yeah, we were talking about the Ravens longer than I had originally planned. Um, we're gonna talk about the Commanders versus Eagles. What are some of the things that you guys think the Commanders need to do to get the win?
I think they're going to need to simplify the playbook. And I don't mean that isn't like stop doing what you're doing. I think it's the same thing when it comes to Lamar. I mean, the Eagles are number one defense in the league. And I know it's been slow games previous too. So it's like I think you really need to try and just let's play mistake free football, really, is at the end of the day. They can't suffer any turnovers. If you suffer turnovers and you give the Eagles extra possessions, they're gonna run out that clock and and Barkley is gonna go crazy. So I think they really need to handle that time of possession. I think they need to be very careful with the football. I think they need to try to figure out ways, different alternatives to running the ball, and try to really win the time of possession.
Um, yeah, this is basically just going off my notes and what I, was looking at this week. Both times that the Washington and the Eagles played this year, Saquon, and I'll let y'all guess, how many yards do y'all think he had in both games, at least,
I'm gonna guess at
rushing?
least 130-ish, probably more.
Close.
Like 150 almost. He
He had 140 at least in both games.
yeah.
So I think the key in this game is literally you're gonna have to load the box. You might have to put nine in there almost, to be honest. 140 is egregious. The other thing is they gotta limit the turnovers. Going back and watching those games, I think Jaden Daniels threw a pick the first game. Um, yeah, last time he played them, it was two interceptions. Like this is
One of them was bad.
yeah, it's just like one of those things that they got is limit turnovers, and they fumbled 3 times versus them.
Hmm.
Turnovers is caution. Look at the Rams last week. It was a close game. Yeah, Kyron Williams, fumble. Matthew Stafford, fumble. He let the game get out of him. Now they did fight back. They tried to call back into it. But literally, you can make the argument if they don't fumble those drives and they go down and score at least, flip field position, they could win.
That was
They could
both
have won
games.
that game.
That was both
The
games with
fumbles,
the Rams.
the Jay, you gotta pray pretty much if you're a Washington fan. Don't let the rookie mistakes show up this week.
Yeah,
Just Jaden Daniels, no turnovers. If he plays a clean game and they keep it close, hopefully the clutch gene kicks in the fourth quarter. 2 minute drive, and he can get them win. That's what you got to keep it close and let Jaden Daniels clutch gene kick in.
Yep.
I agree. So on the opposite end, with Jalen, because he took that hit against the Rams last week, and we kind of saw that um he had been a bit he just could not move the same. So what do you think the Eagles have to do to, we'll say, avoid the upset? I'm saying because I'd imagine more people are probably picking Philly than picking the Commanders. I would say rely like the quick game because they're gonna be prepared for Saquon Barkley. They're going to be. So let's just say if you have like you run have RPO, but like you have Devontae Smith on a slant, it's wide open. Throw that slant. You're gonna have all the attention on Saquon Barkley. Or you got one-on-one with uh AJ Brown. Throw it in which the Commanders run a lot of man coverage. So those opportunities will be there. So I think the quick game is gonna have to be what the Eagles do this week. I think Jalen Hurts is going to have to make a mark. He's going to have to this date his best playoff game, and by that I mean in this current playoffs, because Saquon Barkley's been able to do his thing. He's going to have to throw for a couple hundred yards and get a couple of touchdowns.
You say that they're going to be prepared for Saquon Barkley. I say not. Who has been this season? I don't think anybody. I don't think anybody has been
When
this season.
when I
So
say
I say,
prepared, I mean I agree with you. I'm just saying that they're gonna have multiple people in the box.
I think that that still hasn't stopped him from going off. It hasn't.
I get it.
2K yards.
I get it.
So it's like with me, it's like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I don't think they need to change anything. People are asking, can the Eagles win the Super Bowl with this formula? They've been winning. They've been winning. So why change? Why fix anything? I think Jalen Hurts needs to make three big plays this game. I think if you get Jalen Hurts to make three big plays in each game with that recipe of running the ball, I think it's GG. I mean, that's just is what it is. If you get fourth down in inches, fourth down and one, it's the tush push. It's over every time. So it's like with that recipe, what more do you really need from Jalen Hurts? You don't really need anything else. And with the way he's turned the ball over in the past, it's a good thing you don't need any more from it because when he's been asked to do more, he hasn't really been able to deliver in those ways, in my opinion. I think in the Super Bowl he did for sure carry his team. Although when you look in the past, he had just as many touchdowns as interceptions in a lot of those games as well. So it's like I think they just run the ball. You run the ball, play defense. Run the ball, play defense. That's the recipe the Steelers have been winning and getting by and skating by with for the last how many decades. Just keep doing it. You're going to keep winning.
Fair
Limit the
enough.
turnover.
Fair enough. All right. So we have Haley Steinfeld traveling to go play against Taylor Swift in the popular fiance slash girlfriend ball. Um, First, I'm just gonna ask, who do y'all got taking this game?
I'm gonna go ahead and say I got the Chiefs, unfortunately.
Me too.
Like the old games they played and looking at the stats, I'm gonna let y'all guess. Because the definition of playoff riser um is literally so true for Mahomes. Um, what would y'all say, like, if y'all had to guess the 5 times that Mahomes played the Bills in the regular season, how many interceptions has he thrown
Like,
in total? He's thrown 7 interceptions. And his touchdown and interception ratio is 10-7 in those 5 games. In the playoffs, the 3 times that they played, he hasn't thrown a single interception. He does not like the regular season. They can get him to throw 7 interceptions. Playoffs, he just won't make a mistake. I'm like, how are they going to get him? Because that's what it is about playoffs. Getting your opponent to make a mistake, capitalizing off of it. He hasn't thrown an interception to these dudes yet. I don't think he's going to do it this Sunday. I really don't see how they're going to make him make a mistake. It's really going to be a shootout if the Bills win. It's
mhm.
he gets looking back at the stats. He got sacked 3 or 4 times in those AFC games that he lost, and then the Super Bowl. His other games, he got sacked 3 or 4 times, and he still won. What is it that makes the Chiefs so special? I couldn't tell you. They literally find a way to win every time in the most ridiculous situation. That Super Bowl, they were down like 10 points versus the 49ers. I said, this is over. I like crazy. I don't know how they're going to do it, but it's it's going to happen. We're just going to watch it and be pretend shocked again.
I that both of you are picking the Chiefs. I'm not gonna lie. I really am because I genuinely think that this is the year. This is the year for the Bills. I'm put my money's on the Chiefs. I'm picking the Chiefs, but I genuinely think this is the year out of all the years that it could have potentially have happened that the Chiefs lose to the Bills when you look at the matchup. I just want to ask you guys another question though, from a second point before I really go into it anymore. What happened? Do you guys? What happened with Josh Allen in the Bills' offense versus the Ravens?
What do
He had
you?
like he had
That
22.
because the Ravens kept turning the ball over. Like
Yeah, for the Bills, the Ravens' strength stopping the run, they couldn't stop the run.
Yeah, there is also a telltale sign of like the Bills stopped the Ravens' run game for the most part. I mean, especially in the first half, it made the Ravens give up on the run game. I'm not saying that the Chiefs are going to give up, but I think that the Bills have proven that on defense they can stop the run when they need to. And I think that if they're able to take that out of the Chiefs' formula, I think that they have a pretty good shot if they try to force Patrick Mahomes to just throw the ball. Now, I'm not saying at the same time I'm not saying put your money against Patrick Mahomes because is Patrick Mahomes going to be Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs? Of course, you guys just went over it. He always has been against the Bills. I don't see it happening 3 times. It's just like the Super Bowl. It's just like the Super Bowl where people asking, can they three-peat? Can they three-peat? I don't. They can't keep doing this to the Bills. They're just gonna keep abusing the Bills. They're just. I mean, are the Bills that cursed of a playoff team that they lose 4 Super Bowls in a row and now they're over here owned by Patrick Mahomes in the AFC Championship? Is that what we're saying now? Like that's really what it is?
One of the things I looked into, like even with the interceptions, okay, he doesn't make interceptions versus your team. All right, he doesn't make mistakes on the ball. Okay, can we at least get to him, pressure him? In those 3 games that they played, Mahomes has been sacked 3 times. So they're getting about a sack. They're only sacking him like once a game. Okay, that kills one drive. Who cares? In those 3 games, Allen has been sacked 6 times. They're sacking him like it's just I don't know what it is. It's literally like every stat you look at when I was going back and looking at this, I'm like the Bills don't have anything favorable. Like I don't know. Of course, it's a smaller sample size. The rosters have changed. Diggs isn't here anymore. Um, Tyreek isn't here anymore, so it's definitely different this time around. And I get why you're saying like, okay, they can win, and I felt like that. But this really just feels like one of those games, like we seen with the Patriots. Oh, this is the time. I said it last year with the Ravens. I said, look, Chiefs had a horrible run defense for the most part last year. I said, oh my gosh, the Ravens game is amazing. Just run the ball and you win. Teams don't do that for some reason. They overcomplicate it. Not saying that what the Bills are going to do, but I just feel like the thing that's going to be different is like the Chiefs always raise the level of play, no matter what.
Where we're going into a Bills Chiefs game and Josh Allen is favored for MVP over Patrick Mahomes
But
because Josh over the game. I don't think anybody can stop him.
I mean, argue that he took over that game and they somehow still lost. So
Because
They
he
had
will play, yet Mahomes rises to the level of his competition. My thing is, I think whoever wins this game, regardless of if it's Kansas City or the Bills, it is whatever quarterback is on the field last. I don't think this game's going to overtime. I think it's going to be a situation where, just like in those 2021 with the 13 seconds and went to overtime, how Josh Allen did not get the step on the field in overtime. I think it's going to end in regulation where if it's the Bills, they're not giving the ball back to Mahomes. They're going to punch you down the throat, go down scratching, knee biting. Shout out to Dan Campbell, um, to make sure that Patrick Mahomes does not get the football. But at the
and
same time, I think the Chiefs are going to have that same approach. So I get what you're saying, but I think that we've seen Josh Allen ascend to another level in the playoffs against the Chiefs and still come up short. So another thing to mention is kind of like what Kevin's been like hinting, like talking about head to head between both of them. Josh Allen is 4-1 against Mahomes in the regular season, but in the playoffs he's 0-3. I'm just gonna throw that stat out there, but
last time I said, look, it's going to be the same script we've seen in previous years. The Bills are going to, beat up on them in the regular season. And then what are the Chiefs going to do? They're going to look at the film, adjust, see where they make mistakes, and then they're going to literally use that to their advantage in the playoffs. And we've seen it happen like how many times now?
three.
Four.
uh,
It's a first time for everything, and I certainly believe that to be true for some things. Do I think that's the time now? I certainly don't feel like the Bills got the roster. I think they play well as a team, but if it ever comes down to somebody has to make the play besides Josh Allen, if it comes down to Cook maybe having to make a, I don't know if I believe that's gonna happen. Can Josh Allen carry them? Maybe, but do I think Do I think anybody else in the Bills is going to step up and have a crazy game to get them over the hump and beat the Chiefs? No, I can't see it happening.
Take the high road on this one. I'm gonna take the Bills by a field goal. I'm gonna take the Bills by a field goal. I am. I'm confident in I'm confident in that. I think that it could very well, I could see it going the other way though. I could, but I'm confident in saying the Bills by three this season. I think that with them buying into the run game more than they ever have, both on the offensive and the defensive end this year, I think that it's a different formula that could potentially beat the Chiefs. Because I mean, Josh Allen didn't. If let's be fair here, and this is really what it comes down to. This is truly what it comes down to. It's are they who's going to lose the game is really what it is. It's
I
not who's
think the
going to win the
Bills
game. It's
supporting
who's going
cast is
to.
gonna lose. Supporting cast, if they lose, it's gonna be because of them
I think
specifically.
there's a lot of people. I think
I
what
think
should.
matters most. I
I didn't believe it at first, but last year's Super Bowl definitely like when I seen it happen, I was like, dude, like this team really just can't be stopped. Like every year we kind of feel like it's oh the Chiefs are gonna lose, and then don't get me wrong, the Chiefs don't have bad players, but like I feel like certainly this is a team. If these players were on a different team, they probably wouldn't be that good. Like I've seen McCole Hardman. If he was on a different team, I don't fear him. Was he on the Jets for a while? I didn't
like
I fear him. On the Chiefs, I kind of fear him. Um like Xavier Worthy, like I mean, he has his moments, but it just feels like anytime this team is like 2 minute drill, we gotta go. All of a sudden, McCole Harmon is like, bro, why are you like prime Rose Walker? Like, what is like what is going on? Like, why did you just the supporting cast elevates the play? We seen it last year. I came into that Ravens game thinking wholeheartedly Cal Hamilton was going to shut down Travis Kelce. That man immediately scored, and I felt so stupid. I'm like, I've seen this happen time and time again. We go into these Chiefs games thinking, okay, they don't have the roster. I did the same thing in the Eagles Super Bowl. Ain't no way Juju Smith is going to get off on these boys, these Eagles like that. Especially the Eagles was ranked number one defense that year. I watched the Chiefs score every possession the second half. I could not believe it. How is Juju Smith doing this? How is Travis Kelce doing this? He's
they
getting old.
can't.
That's how I
Teams know this. Contrary to a lot of people, I don't mind seeing them. They can three-peat for all I care. I'm not rooting
I need
against
a
them
new
by any
team.
means.
I don't anything personally against them. I think just as a fan, okay, my favorite team is an NFC, so it doesn't bother me that much. But if I was a fan of an AFC team, I think it would drive me crazy seeing the Patriots, especially if I was a lot older. If I was like in my 30s, 40s, if I have to sit all the way through the Patriots dynasty, then I have to sit probably another 10 years through this Chiefs dynasty. Like the NFC switches it up pretty much. Who
I think it
thought
makes it a little
Washington
bit
was going to
easier
be
for
in
me.
this?
It makes like, but I do understand for like the Ravens, and that's why I'm frustrated with Lamar. Like
It's
that's why
not.
I am frustrated with Lamar. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to root against the Chiefs. But I would not be
I
surprised
am.
if they lose. I will not be surprised if they lose this
I'll
Sunday.
be.
Lose because they're three in the playoffs. I don't know what it is. When crunch time laps, like my biggest example last year, really just a mental mistake at the coin toss in the Super Bowl. The 49ers literally picked to get the ball first.
I think this year the Bills have bought in on the turnover, no turnover type style of play. I think we saw that with the Ravens. I think we've seen that consistently throughout the entire year with Josh Allen turning this new curve, not turning the ball over. James Cook has never been a turnover type of player. And you got the surrounding cast who's bought into that mentality. I think if they can, I know that you just got done saying that they've never forced a turnover from Patrick Mahomes, but if they can get one, I think that boosts the morale of everything, and I think that they can actually get one off on the Chiefs. Pause, but I do.
Out of the episode be with this metaphor. I truly believe the Chiefs, they're gonna go down in the first quarter, early in the game. Their revive card is gonna be in Mountain Zone while the Chiefs dropped in freaking collapse and they gotta go into the storm and go and get it. And then they do. And then basically they're gonna find Coda and be level 9 everything. They go find Airy, even though Airy is not even in the game. That is my prediction.
I don't know, man. Like I was saying, like the 49ers literally picked to get the ball first in the Super Bowl when it became the overtime rules became a two possession game now that both teams get the ball no matter what. And they decided that we're gonna get the ball first. I like what are teams? I don't know what teams do against them. I don't know what evil ritual that Andy Reid has done. Um, I don't know. I don't know what type of trap card they got, bro. Like, it's literally something every year with this team. Even on the years that they don't win, it's still some type of crazy game that happens.
Hey,
Uh, it
hey,
took the Bengals going into overtime to beat this team. Like, you just don't beat this team. Does not go down easy, like at all. It's something crazy every
hey,
time. The only time I see this team go down easy was when the Chiefs didn't have starting tackles and they had to play the Bucks in the Super Bowl.
look.
Time. I really, really appreciate it. And also, they can't keep getting away with it. But
I'll be wearing my KC Super Bowl shirt from last year. It's
I'm
fine.
gonna smack the shit out you if you do. But thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.